welcome back to the Smart Girl Politics Podcast. I am Teri Christoph, bringing you the latest in a line of interviews I call the isolation interviews, because there are people out there that know some stuff that I don't know, and I want to find out about it. So I'm happy to have, as my latest interviewee, a longtime friend of mine, Tom LaDuke. He is the host of, amongst other things, it is called Bourbon on the Rocks. Now, is Bourbon on the Rocks a podcast? Is it a live show on Facebook? What the heck is it?
Well, it's both.
Okay.
And if you recall, Teri Christoph, thank you for the invite. You told me not to name the show that.
I did. I said, and I was almost going to call. Yeah, it should have been Duke on the Rocks, but whatever.
Right. And once again, you tried to hurt my feelings, but I persevered.
How would that hurt your feelings? It was all about branding, baby. Branding. You got to be thinking branding. Got to think about merchandise. You got to be thinking about all these things. Bourbon
sells. Bourbon merchandises. Okay, and during COVID-19-24 set hike, people need to drink.
People are drinking. They are definitely drinking. All these states, including my own, which Virginia is not really a great state anymore, but we can have alcohol delivered now, and alcoholic beverages like restaurants can, whip you up a little, like a daiquiri or a tequila sunrise, a girly drink, and they can deliver it to you. So that's pretty great.
You can't, but you have to buy it at a beer or liquor store, right?
No, you can get it from restaurants now.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. Until Ralph Northam decides, that he doesn't like that. Peeks out from under his hood and goes, what's going on over there? And then he puts a kibosh on it. But that's for a whole different podcast. Now, Tom.
Yes.
The reason I wanted to chat with you is because you are from a little state we like to call Michigan.
That is correct.
And Michigan is in the news for, it's always in the news for something, but of late for a few things. One being that your Detroit area has been a bit of a hot spot for the COVID-19, but also for your governor, Gretchen Whitmer, and some of the action that she's taking to protect you, Tom, because she knows that you can't protect yourself in this situation. So she's going to step in.
Thank God.
And take control of the situation and keep you safe. And the reason that I really wanted to talk about this is because your close personal friend, Robert Stacey McCain, wrote an article yesterday on spectator.org for the American Spectator called "The Worst Governor in America. Gretchen Whitmer imposes insane policies on Michigan." And I knew you would be able to tell us more about this. So this is why I have invited you on. But first, what is the COVID situation in Michigan and in your area? Is it a hot spot?
Well, according to the numbers, yes. I don't have the latest numbers in front of me, but I think we're over 26,000 people have tested positive, somewhere around 1,300 deaths. Although, don't want to be an alarmist or a conspiracy theorist, but I know of 2 instances right now where unfortunately people have passed away, and the family members are saying it's not COVID, but it has been listed as COVID, which makes me scratch my head.
Is everything just being attributed to COVID right now?
I don't know.
Is that what it is? It's just the thing to do?
Look, I can tell you this much. Whoever, maybe it's Robert Stacey McCain, maybe it's somebody else, after the dust settles with this, some reporter or some organization is going to go out there and they're going to file FOIAs. And I'm really good at filing FOIAs, but they cost dough. Somebody's going to win a Pulitzer for a story. That's all I can tell you.
I'm sure there's plenty of material here to work with.
Whether or not there has been boosting of the numbers or not, there are going to be some stories just on how the American health system was not prepared for something that wasn't anywhere near so far what it was sold that it was going to be. Because if we were anywhere close to Dr. Fauci's original estimates of about 250,000 people to 1 million people dying, then holy hell, we weren't anywhere near prepared. So somebody out there is going to actually win a Pulitzer. Is Detroit a hot spot? Yeah, they're about 50% of the in Detroit and Wayne County. They're about 50% of the state's total right now. I don't know why. I would love to say that there are reasons. I don't know. I don't know why South Korea, didn't have it as bad as Italy and vice versa. This is just one of these things that we're going to have to wait for some dust to settle and data to come in. But Michigan, I think we're number 3 in the country right now.
Congrats.
For cases. And the vast majority of the people so far that have caught it, they've had some problems, or some of them haven't even known it. And hopefully this passes mighty darn quick.
So are your hospitals able to keep up with the number of cases that they're seeing? I mean, I know you're very involved in your local area. I don't know if you have a local hospital or what the situation is, but what's your sense of how the medical system in your area is dealing with it?
This is why I fall back on what I said, Teri, Christoph, about that some industrious reporter is going to have a hell of a story on his hands. I have a number of friends that work in the medical field here. The ones that work in hospitals, everybody 3 weeks ago was in a panic.
Right.
Because they were getting the red alert. This was it. This is what they've been practicing, training about, learned in medical school about. As of today, or as of actually yesterday, only one hospital that I can find here in the Metro Detroit area, Grace Sinai, has a major problem with people. And they have not yet, I don't think they have 10 or 15 people at the makeshift hospital at the arena in downtown Detroit that, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers came in. Every other hospital system or hospital they talk to, they have cases. I have seen numbers that people have sent to me, and the media has possibly overblown that a little bit.
I am shocked to find this out. You haven't gone down there to your local hospital and tried to, do go into this seems to be the thing lately, is to go to your local hospital, go into the waiting area and report what you're seeing there. Because a lot of people are seeing nothing. Like, there's nothing going on at this hospital, and I think that's probably the case here in my local area. Luckily, I mean, I know that there's hospitals that are overrun, but we're not a hot spot like you.
Okay, so the people that I talk to, they're workers at they don't want to be on the record. They want to be anonymous. And so I respect that. And I'll just check in every 3-4 days and say, okay, how's it going and everything. Like I said, I've had screenshots of the boards that they have in their rooms and everything and such, and show this is how many people are that were, what do you call it when they put the thing on them? They incubate them or whatever.
Intubate.
And intubate. Yeah. Okay. And how many people, came in, how many people have left.
Right.
How people have passed away. The numbers aren't nearly as bad at the 3 hospitals around Metro Detroit. Detroit Sinai is in Northwest Detroit. Detroit has been a hot spot, so that's not shocking at all that one or more of the hospitals in Detroit would be, really overburdened. But Detroit Sinai so far is the only one that I've seen that there is a serious problem down there. Every other hospital, they're still on a red alert. They're worried, but they so far have it under control.
Well, that's good to hear because, the top level, we don't get all the details that you get, but it sounds like, to those of us that are in different states, like you guys are just like hair on fire. Everybody's running around screaming like, it's just a big nightmare there. So I guess it's good to hear that it's not quite that bad.
Well, you do have, when you have any area, okay, so Metro Detroit, the 5 counties, you have about 4.5 million people. Outstate Michigan, you have so few cases to talk about in the UP, that could be another country as far as everybody's concerned. But when you have in an area of 4.5 million people, and this is rolling through, and half of it is from one county, Detroit and Wayne, you have to go, okay, whoa, what's going on here?
That'll be an interesting whoever does this story eventually, though. It'll be interesting to know. It seems like there's other areas that are hotspots have an event that they can tie it to. Like, down in New Orleans, there was Mardi Gras, and they kind of started there. So there has to have been something, right?
Yeah. Mardi Gras makes perfect sense because that was right at the end of February.
Unauthorized street party somewhere in Detroit.
Oh, well, I've seen some videos. people
Not
hanging
that
out.
You haven't been there.
Well, I got to tell you, I would love to be able to, me, I've jumped in in the middle of a couple of.
You certainly have.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that. I would love to hop in the middle of some of these things and go, what are you thinking? Okay, and not that I would necessarily say you're bad for doing this and everything, but what are you thinking? But I mean, I've seen some videos where, you got 25 or 30. A week ago, Wednesday, it was 71 degrees here. So 2 videos popped up the next day. You had 25 or 30 people hanging out at gas stations. It's like, right?
Is that what you do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's.
It sounds pretty great right now. To be honest, I'll go hang out at a gas station.
Well, yeah, it would be great.
People to watch.
You see, this is the thing. People in other parts of the country might not understand this, but Detroit being the Motor City, we used to cruise in the cars and drag race and everything. And hanging out at a gas station when I was 16 or 17 while everybody was fueling up and you're talking, and I mean, it's not that odd. It wasn't,
It's not that odd.
So I don't recall ever, except if even if it was like 2 a.m., it was like, okay, everybody better, you don't want to congregate, with a lot of people. So yeah, I did see this one video where they had about 25 or 30 people hanging out, and then the police showed up and the person taking the video hopped in the car. They turned up the jams and they got the hell out of there.
Sounds like you guys are having a great time in Michigan. So let's talk a little bit about your governor.
Oh, Governor Gretsch. Love her. Oh, she's great.
Is she great? She's who Trump calls half Whitmer, correct?
Yeah. See, that's so mean of El Presidente 45. Well, no, Trump's not sexist. He would have called, if Whitmer were a guy, people would be like, oh, yeah, I mean, Trump would call her half-wit, him. And it's unfortunate that people are right now spreading a picture of separated at birth of Caitlyn Jenner and Gretchen Whitmer. I think that's distasteful.
Oh, I didn't see that. The picture that accompanies the article on the American Spectator, she doesn't look, they obviously didn't take the best picture of her to put up there. So before COVID became a thing in your state, what was her reputation like as a governor?
I have to be tasteful here. Do you recall the Larry Nassar case at Michigan State, the sexual harassment, the doctor?
Yeah. The gymnasts.
Mm-hmm. Gretchen Whitmer held the seat of the county prosecutor there after she left state government as the minority leader of the Senate. She punted that ball to go after him.
Huh.
Yeah. She's very averse at taking stances without running it through 10 to 15, 20 people, which is why I'm a bit surprised that she's gone as heavy as she has. I have a theory why she has, but the Larry Nassar thing was something that not only would it have brought you some positive publicity, but it was the right thing to do. And she punted that up to the attorney general because she was planning on running for governor, and she didn't want to be controversial.
I would have thought that would have helped her. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, should have, but when you're talking about one of the major universities in the state,
funding, donors, things, money.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So what kinds of things has she imposed to protect you all from yourselves during COVID-19?
Well, let me tell you what some of my friends up in Lansing have told me. Now, unfortunately, I don't have as many friends in Lansing as I did after the Tea Party sweep of 2010, because a lot of those people are now.
That's true. You had quite a crew up there.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Those were the days. I
They
feel like
were the days. Oh,
yeah. So this is what I have been told. The governor had to, after she declared the first emergency, she had to go, I think, 14 days. She had to go and get approval from the legislature because she's not able to grant herself emergency powers forever.
okay.
So the legislature got together a week ago today, and she
And the
wanted
makeup of your legislature, Democrats,
Republic,
Republicans.
Republicans on both sides, House and Senate.
Okay.
All right. Governor Whitmer wanted a 70-day extension of her powers, which would take her into June.
Okay.
The GOP-led House and Senate, which I know the Senate Majority Leader, Mike Shirkey, totally stunned me when they said, no, Trump's only gone to the 30th of April. We're only going to give you to the 30th of April. She was not happy about that.
But you were.
I was actually stunned that, and this is where my bipartisan, I don't care. I was really stunned that Mike Shirkey, whom I've known since 2010, and I find him to be a bit spineless, that he. Oh yeah, Shirkey is. I could go on and on about Mike Shirkey. But I was a little bit surprised that they actually stood up to the governor on this. Now, what my friends that work in legislative aids and said and everything is such as that when they went ahead and only granted her till the end of the month, she was like, well, I'm going to show you, which doesn't really make sense to me. But in politics, who knows? Who knows how you think you're going to screw somebody? And she was like, okay, well, we're just going to turn the screws harder.
Huh.
Michigan is a state where people live down here in Metro Detroit. Over half of the population lives down here. But we have little cottages up north. You can't travel to your cottage up north now. No.
So you can't travel between your own properties.
That is correct.
And what would happen if you did?
Well, you see, you may have to stop and get gas, and somebody could get the COVID. This is directly from the government.
This is a point that Robert Stacey McCain makes, and he says that there is a way around it by going into Indiana or something. Like if you approach it from a different state, or if you actually are a citizen of a different state, you could go up there, but not if you're traveling within the state. Okay.
Yeah,
which is bizarro.
I did not read that in the executive order, but I do. I have heard other people mention that if you live in Indiana, but if you have property up in Michigan, which is very possible because we border Indiana and Ohio, there's not a northern Indiana, a beautiful area like the upper lower P and the upper peninsula, just some of the most gorgeous parts of the world, let alone the country, and people have property up there. Okay. So yeah, I'm sure there's probably some exemption there. This is a thing that literally confused me. And I went and actually did a little piece over at Macomb County Scanner for this. I went to the Sam's Club here, which is owned by Walmart. And after her executive order was signed, Sam's Club barricaded off lawnmowers, patio furniture, rugs, and mattresses. Now, I could go in there and buy
mattresses? That's essential.
Mattresses. Well, no, because who wants to sleep during this? So they barricaded this off, and I took pictures, and I said, this is due. And I did a non-editorial thing. I just said, this is due to Governor Whitmer's brand new executive order.
So this also includes things like you can't grow your own food. So if you wanted to, maybe supplement by growing some veggies or something, you can't get seeds to do that.
Right. Which Whitmer and her crew are like, oh, my God, we didn't know we had so many farmers in Michigan. Well, she clarified this yesterday. Oh, also paint. You can't buy paint. So if you go to the Depot, you can't buy paint.
That's all anybody's doing is painting. You have nothing else to do because you're in your house. You might as well remodel.
So she clarified this yesterday in her press conference, and it amazed me that she actually went ahead and was like, oh, wait, I'm going to make this better. You can go and buy seeds for planting. You can go and buy a lawnmower. You can go and buy paint or patio furniture. It just can't be from a national corporation. It has to be from a mom and pop shop. Now, how in the hell do you differentiate that from the COVID? Are you saying that the mom and pop shops are not going to have the COVID, but Home Depot and Lowe's will? Or a Sam's Club or a Costco? That's just how absolutely knee-jerk reaction this has been.
She's sticking it to the man.
100%. And this is why, absolutely, there was a, my colleague over at Red State, Brandon Morse, wrote a piece yesterday talking about there's 150,000 people that have signed a petition to recall Whitmer. And I'm like, this is a total waste of time.
Is it?
Oh, it's total waste of time. I've done a recall here locally here, Teri. You know.
You have.
Okay. I know what
Death
it
threats
entails.
and all.
Okay. I know what it entails, and this is just a town of 15,000 people. You are not going to get the 200 or 300,000 signatures that you're going to need and the $3 to $5 million to do it. If you want to play it right, then what you want to do is you want to make sure that the GOP nominates somebody in 2022 and then also get rid of the attorney general who is going around threatening people.
It's a long time away, though. We have short memories. Hopefully by 2022, this is all a distant memory.
We do have short memories, but we do also have YouTube. And look, somebody who's innovative, and there are tons of innovative people out there, would have a field day saying, Governor Whitmer, once again, how do you differentiate that you can buy plants at the local ACO, but you can't buy plants at Home Depot or Meijer? How do you do that?
Did anyone ask?
Oh, nobody in the press corps up in Lansing is going to ask. And she's not taking regular questions.
You are a journalist. You write for Red State. Can't you get up there?
Incorrect. I am not a journalist. I am a commentator that sometimes commits journalism.
Well, you could commit some journalism in Lansing and ask her the question. Come on.
Well, but
here's Trump's press conferences. We need to do it everywhere. We need to take everybody to task.
But Trump's press conferences, you have 5 journalists there. I'm not listed in any corps. Look, there's going to be time for people to hit her with this. All right. And she's not going to be able to answer it. There's no CDC recommendations or guidelines on this. If her director of health here is trying to make that differential, the person should be fired immediately. This was an absolute knee-jerk reaction to events that have happened because we've never gone through anything like this. See, I'm willing to be somewhat forgiving here because I even was a little terrified at the beginning. Where I was like, oh, this is it. But now I'm looking at this and I'm like, wait a minute. We have all these numbers coming in. It's going to take months to years to really get a perfect picture of this or a more perfect picture. But taking a look at this now, we should have been at 15% of the people in any area dead. I mean, the way that they hyped this up. And a friend of mine just the other day said this is the greatest media hoax since Orson Welles and, the invasion from Mars. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's a great, great example. It really is.
Do you think we know enough now to say that? There's enough data in?
Well,
Just one. I mean, I am leaning that way heavily myself, but then I trust none of the sources. I trust nobody to give me the right information.
Well, okay. Here's the inherent bias that people that are hiding underneath a couch and saying that anybody going out you need to call the cops on is that here's what Dr. Fauci said just 2 weeks ago. We were still on track to lose 100 to 250,000 people. The initial estimates could have been up to 1 million. The governor of Ohio said they were going to lose 1 million people in Ohio.
Yes.
And as somebody from Michigan, I'm like, well, Ohio's kind of a backwater dump anyway.
But as a Catholic, you don't really mean that.
Well, I'd pray for the repose of their souls. That's what I would do. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this and I'm like, they really, to get everybody just pumped up scared, they threw a bunch of numbers out there that they didn't know whether or not it was true. Well, how do you hold people accountable for that when they're wrapping it in the flag of we were trying to save your life? That's gonna be a little bit of a trick. But what they have it like is what I meant to say. They have it wrapped up. It's like, oh, well, because we did this, we saved lives. Well, we don't know that either. We have no idea because a coronavirus like SARS in 2002, like MERS in 2014, has certain characteristics that this does. Why didn't we have now SARS? I remember they canceled some things. I don't remember MERS as specifically, but why? Why did this one hit the trigger button this hard? I mean, the contagion factor was around the same. Okay, I think SARS also hit the respiratory. So why was it? And some of these people won't be in office anymore, but the others, even though they're going to wrap it up and say, oh, if we hadn't done it, why didn't the other ones? And that's going to take some analysis, and that's not going to be done anytime quick.
Yeah, I don't know why it's different, but it does seem to be different because it's not, with the SARS and the MERS and bad flu seasons, we don't get all of these, there's famous people dropping dead every few hours. It's kind of weird to me. Like, I think about it too. I'm like, this is no worse than anything else. This might even be a lesser case of the flu or whatever, but then all of a sudden it's hitting all these famous people and you don't see that, or well-known people, whatever, you don't see that. Or maybe you just don't hear about it. But it does seem to be killing an awful lot of people, the famous variety.
If somebody, once again, a storyteller goes back and finds a number of people, famous people and everything that died from the flu and did the exact same type of story format, today, the influenza, claimed the life of blah, 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 blah.
Well, yeah, and then that maybe goes back to your point. I don't know if you said this on the show or before when we were talking, but you were saying that coronavirus is being listed as the cause of death for everything right now, which may not be the case.
Right.
Which is probably not the case in a lot of instances.
I have been told by two people that that have had friends pass, that it was being listed when there was another thing that they were very, very sick from. Now, does this come and you put the cherry on top of the sundae and say, oh, that was it? That's where somebody who is actually going to go and find whether or not these stories are true, they probably should win a bunch of awards. And you know what? And I'm open-minded enough. I am willing to let the facts come out on it. But we all know that there are instances where the government has fudged stuff. And you have to, once they've bought into a narrative, they can't back out of it. And they bought into this hard and heavy, and they're not going to be able to back out of it. There'd be too much egg on the face. There would be too many mea culpas.
But how can they not back out of it? I mean, I know you're a huge fan of Rush Limbaugh, and when Rush says it's not economy versus lives, it's lives versus lives, he's absolutely right. I mean, how can they not? Because they are ruining people's lives. Yes, we need to be very concerned about people who are sick, who could get sick, those who have died. It's a terrible tragedy. But there's a bunch of tragedies in the making. So how can they not back themselves out of it? And PDQ, as we used to say as kids. Remember that? PDQ?
No.
Pretty darn quick.
Oh.
PDQ.
I didn't know that.
Let's slow it over there in Michigan. Obviously, we Virginians are quick-witted like that.
Well, the slang's a little bit different because
I don't want to know your slang. I'm a good Catholic girl.
Right. I mean, it's like you guys over in the original 13, you always have your nose in the air a little bit. But, I mean, look who your governor is.
Yeah. That's why I'm excited. It's exciting to talk to you about a state where, the GOP actually has the chance of putting up a candidate that could win of the Republican, a Republican that could win. It just ain't happening here in Virginia. But that's beside the point.
That's why I am encouraging people to forego this recall effort, because it's not going to happen unless you have somebody come in and write you a $5, $6, $7 million check. And then that person's going to take a beating for it. So you need to actually work the party system to get somebody in 2022. And then also the Attorney General and the Secretary of State.
I mean, that is so exciting that that's an actual possibility in your state. I may have to move there.
It's very nice here in the summer and the fall. The winters have kind of worn on me a little bit, although I do like snow up until January 1st, but then the hell with it.
I feel the same way. Once Christmas is over, we need to go right into spring.
Yeah, exactly. But I just want to bring up one thing. When you're talking about analysis, the people that are on the opposite side of this, and I could drop some names that I won't, that are 180 from where I am right now, they are so convinced that everything that is being reported is at least 80 to 85% right, that they will need to do a mea culpa, and they won't, because they'll say it was
never does.
It was erring on the side of caution. And what you said about that there are consequences beyond this is absolutely true. I happen to know somebody who got a call at 2 a.m, next door neighbor killed herself because she didn't see any way. This was just absolutely horrific. We're going to probably see those numbers go out. Just here in Michigan yesterday, we had the governor say there is a hotline if you're having issues.
Yeah.
In terms of that you feel isolated and everything. Not the national suicide hotline, but just here in Michigan for the residents here. I'm glad that she's taking a look at that, because there are going to be many, many issues. The bankruptcies. I know many small businesses that they're like, I'm going to have to close and then possibly reopen under a new LLC. This has been absolutely something that the government had never thought could occur. We can tell it right now by their actions, because it's all kind of like, let's just, make it up as we go along. And even if President Trump is right, which I don't necessarily think he is, about this is going to bounce right back, we are going to be feeling repercussions from this on so many different levels that whoever does the movie in 10, 15 years is just going to, it'll win an Academy Award.
If the truth comes out, I mean, the truth will come out, but who's going to publish it? Who's going to, unless it makes Trump look bad, it makes Republicans look bad, most media isn't going to touch it. If it's, the media created a hoax, the media created this panic, and they've done they've been on it for many weeks now, many months of ginning up panic, but that's not, I'm just being cynical. It's just, it's never going to happen. They're never going to touch this. Somebody's going to do a great deep dive into what happened, and we're never going to really know about it, because it's never going to make it into, I don't know if mainstream's the right word, but it's not going to get in front of our eyeballs.
Well, I would take the opposite view there. I think you're going to have people that are going to do this. You're going to have people that are going to get the info. How wide it gets spread out will be interesting to find out. But I think you are going to have people that are going to dig and find out. But will those people who are responsible for just getting on their giddy up horse and riding it, will they ever apologize? No. And
negatory.
I don't know if you had seen what happened with your good close personal friend Chris Cuomo, Fredo.
We're very close.
Yeah, and he had that mini meltdown.
He
had
sure
this
did.
Yeah. And as Matt Walsh actually said today, I was watching this and I watched a clip and I said, I kind of agree with this, that he's actually having a moment of clarity. Yeah, I'm part of the problem. Because he's been peddling this BS for a while. And all of a sudden he got it and he was worried. From everything I've seen so far, he was never close to actually ever succumbing to this. But if you know people who have and everything, of course it's going to play with your mind.
But does that stop him from being on his show tonight? Does that stop him from ripping up his multi-million-dollar contract? Because it makes you think about, there was that brief little flash of time after Trump was elected where a small number of media were like, wow, what is it that we missed here amongst this electorate that gave us Donald Trump? And like, we're going to go, I think CNN, Fredo's own network, CNN is going to go into the heartland and figure this out. Like, where did we go wrong? And that lasted maybe 7 days after Trump was elected. It always sort of is self-correcting. People never really change.
Well, they still couldn't believe that Clinton lost. See that? If you're actually want to do a critical analysis, yeah, you go into Pennsylvania, you go into Michigan, you go into Wisconsin, you go, okay, what the hell happened? Self-analysis is very hard to do.
Well, it's very hard to find out that you were wrong. So it's much easier to go, maybe I was wrong, but I'll go back to my cushy job on CNN where I can, interview my brother and have some good laughs. And
what they did do, though, is instead of the hard self-analysis, what they did do was they said, oh, okay.
What's wrong with these people? Let's go find out.
They started digging a little bit. They're like, you know what? We're not going to change this. This was a fluke, and the Russians did it.
Yes.
That is what you see. And look, Trump only won Michigan by 11,000 votes. When people were actually last week or 2 weeks ago, and I have friends that were saying, I can't believe Trump's talking to her like that. And I'm like, look, this is very simple, and it's just elementary for politics. Up until Donald Trump, governors, elected officials, the American public take shots at the American president, and the spokesperson would go out there and go, well, this isn't true. And then you'd have somebody from the campaign go out there and say, no, let me correct this. Donald Trump's like, no, hold my beer because I don't drink. I'll handle the response.
Hold my Diet Coke.
Yeah. And Trump will take it on himself. So the governor of Michigan, she was critical that they haven't sent us the help and everything. Well, the governor of Michigan had not filed for emergency federal assistance. It wasn't the federal government's fault.
Yes.
So you go out there and take a shot at the president like that, he's going to take a shot back at you. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, well, he shouldn't have done that. Well, she shouldn't have been critical of the federal response when her own team hadn't done what they needed to do. And that is just the politics of the situation. The only thing different now is the president doesn't do things through a spokesperson. He'll come right at you. And is it childish sometimes? 100%. But if you actually want to play ball, all right, understand that he's gonna throw some inside pitches. And did I ever have a doubt? I had a friend of mine. She's a lawyer. She's very educated, very smart, and she was like, he was gonna leave Michigan abandoned. I'm like, do you understand that we're in an election year? And he won Michigan by 11,000 votes 3.5 years ago. He wasn't leaving Michigan by the wayside. He was taking a smack at the idiot in Lansing. That's all he was doing. Okay, he's not going to for a personal grudge, say, I'm not going to give anything to Michigan because that woman up there is up there and everything. He wants to win Michigan in November. Well, I mean, I cannot believe that people just suspend common sense in this.
Well, I mean, one thing that I truly believe about him is that he does care about Americans, and I think he cares about most, if not all. I mean, maybe not media, but I think he cares about it. My thought always, you and I met during the Tea Party years, and I always felt like Obama didn't care about me. He didn't care about the Tea Party members or anything like that. Like, I truly think that Trump does care and wants the vast majority, minus the media, to do well and to be successful. So, I mean, he wasn't going to leave them. And I think he wants to do the best for everyone, but it is unprecedented and it is getting a little bit out of hand, I think.
Well, when you talk about, at least with a subject like China and something that he's been complaining about for 20 years, and even today in his press conference, I mean, he spoke for an hour before he took a question. It was like, stop it.
He's got to stop that. I think 5 minutes and then go and say, I got to get back to the business of the people and go.
But when they question him on China, he's like, look, I love the Chinese people. I think I have a great relationship with President Xi. But the Chinese have been getting away with murder, and I'm not going to let them do it anymore. And that's why I just signed a trade deal 2 weeks before, and that I had to stop them from traveling here long before anybody else told them to do it. And a week or 2 weeks after, Democrats are taking shots at him for doing it. It's absolutely unorthodox. In fact, today he said there were 26 people in the room when he made the decision. All 26 were against him shutting it off, and he goes, I just decided I'm going to go with my gut instinct.
Yeah, it's his right.
Yeah, and that is because he was like, yeah, I want to get along with the Chinese, but I know the Chinese have screwed us in the past, so, and I don't like how this smells.
Well, and that's going to be the real story. I mean, America's reaction to what happened is going to be one story, but what China covered up is going to be the big story.
Well, I think there was an article in the National Review last week, I believe, and it was by Jim Garrity.
Well, as you might know, that I recently interviewed him because he's been doing, his work is if not the best, some of the best, because he's doing very detailed timelines.
Yes.
So it's not his opinion on what happened. This is the layout. This is what the New York Times said on this day. This is what the World Health Organization said. It's amazing. He's doing a great job.
Absolutely phenomenal work. And it's pointing to that the first surfacing of this so far was in the middle of November.
So far. It's gonna inch forward.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely it's going to. But if we're talking about the middle of November, and with the travel between the Chinese to different parts of Europe, and then to people from different parts of Europe and China here, this was definitely here in the beginning of December.
I think so.
And when you then go and get the antibody test, and I'm thinking about I'll go and do it. Sure. I didn't have symptoms, really. But I know a lot of people that were. I remember the post on Facebook. Oh my God, I've had this flu for 3 weeks. I can't get rid of it.
Yeah, I know several, and one is my own daughter who had the flu twice. She only got tested for it once, but she had the flu twice. And the second round of flu is when she got tested, and she tested positive for flu. But she had something in December that she thought was the flu, and then she got sick again in January and was actually diagnosed with the flu, but it was at least 5 or 6 weeks in between.
Yep.
So I'm like, and she works in a restaurant, so I'm like, you totally had it. So you go test it. Go get those antibodies tested.
And so what that means then is that, she's around you and everyone else. You possibly could have had it. Maybe you just didn't have any symptoms. And so hopefully, and this is another thing about this, the CDC hasn't come out and said, if you've had it, you are immune to it. They don't know that yet. They're basing, when somebody says that, they're basing that on all the other previous viruses, which it's like 99% of the time when you have it, then you're immune. But they haven't had enough time to actually test and find out.
Yeah, and some of the testing that's come out of China indicates that people who have had it do not have a lot of antibodies, or some have none at all, which is kind of scary. I don't know if that means you can get reinfected, or if it's just sort of masked some way that the antibodies aren't showing up. But
it's a cluster. Whew. I haven't liked everything the feds have done. I definitely haven't liked what my governor's done. I think there has been way too much overreaction and making it up as you go along. But for the rest of the states in the Republic of the United States, I don't know of any other state where you can't go to Home Depot and buy seeds.
Can I ask about another thing that's mentioned in the article by your very, very close friend, Stacey McCain? And it's it's more of a social issue kind of thing, where it sounds like you can't go get your teeth checked out by your dentist, but you could go get an abortion if you wanted to. So it's just talking about like the strange and inconsistent views of your governor and her actions. Like, what are your thoughts about that? Number one, is that correct? Can you not go to the dentist, and can you still go get an abortion? Not you personally, obviously, but you in general. You
cannot go. They are not doing just regular dental things right now. That is considered. What is the term? It's elective. If you
it's
have
not essential to.
Right.
Okay. We're all going to have some rotten ass teeth when this is done. We're all going to be a disaster.
We're just going to be like the British. God bless the Brits. I love them.
Love them. Love the Brits.
Them.
I do.
So do I. I mean, the Beatles and all. So,
well, we can talk about that later because I literally watched a thing about George Harrison last night. Literally.
Right. He's currently no longer converting oxygen to carbon. I don't know if you knew that.
I did know that, yes. That is included in his life story.
Okay, good. Well, let's see. You never know. But yeah, elective, you can't. Now, Planned Parenthood, they have to keep that open because, well, I mean, the state needs tax revenue, which is another thing, too, I should probably bring up. In the state of Michigan right now, you can buy pot. Just don't mow your grass. You can smoke it. Lottery tickets and liquor are still there. But, if you want to go buy some lawn furniture to sit outside while you're, under house arrest, essentially, no can do.
So you are against recalling her. Are you against any sort of action against her right now?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think you take a ton of action. I think you go up there, you get people to protest, when she goes out to a speech and everything and such, when this all loosens up. I think people absolutely turn the heat on her. But I'm just, from having done it locally, where I had to collect 1,219 signatures, and not me personally, but the group that I was with. We collected 1,700 because we wanted to make sure that we had more than enough. And we did it on a shoestring budget. If you want to get 25% of the last total number of votes, and I want to say that's, 2 million. No, I don't even remember. But you have to get 25%. And you have to collect it in a 180-day period. And then you have to turn it into the Secretary of State, who's a socialist. She's an avowed socialist. And they have to go through and say, boom, 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 boom. All these signatures are right. And if they say, or they're registered voters, and if you say they're not, well, you know what? You can challenge that, but you're going to lose. You're going to spend 6 months to do that and all that money. I would think, just having gone through this myself, you go ahead, stick it to them. When she goes out, stick it to her. Protest up in Lansing. But make sure you get involved at the party level to get somebody in the GOP to face off against her. And not some walking corpse like Schuette was. Literally probably one of the weakest gubernatorial candidates I have ever seen. The GOP candidate wasn't going to win in 2018 because of the backlash against Trump. But I think he got wiped by about 11 or 12%. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
So that's where I think people should be going, because what will happen is you'll go through that whole recall process. You won't make it, and then you're going to be discouraged. And that's not going to solve your problem, because just around the corner here, we have November. That's 2 years. You don't think people are going to start gearing up for that? I would highly encourage people, get involved locally. Those people that are running for your city council and your board of education and everything, those are the people that are going to move up to state rep, state senator. Get to know them. Let them know that you're watching what they're doing. Make sure you're getting quality people to run for things. Because what we have right now is just a regurgitation cycle where people, it's like, well, they were on the city council, you do this and everything, bop, 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 bop. You need to get involved locally. I understand.
Do you have any concerns, though, that once, we can start getting back to normal, that people are going to be so involved in getting their lives back on track that these kinds of things fall by the wayside? Because right now it sounds great to me. Ralph Northam needs to go. We need to figure out right now. And our election is next year because we have off-year elections. But then when, life starts getting back to normal, everyone's kind of back to the same old, I think. I mean, I could be wrong. But wouldn't you have concerns that passion that people feel right now might kind of diminish in trying to get life back to normal for their families?
Well, that's absolutely a concern. It's a totally legitimate concern. But that's why I'm saying the recall sucks a lot of time and energy. And then if you fall on your face, then people will absolutely drop it. Where I think if you kind of go we've got to get our lives back in order, and you can spend 5% of your time right now getting to know people in your area and what have you. You do a slower build-up as opposed to what happened when we first started with this in 2010 with the Tea Party, where there was a lot of fuel, people, a lot of fire, and a lot of stuff was like spent within the first 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to building something that is a little more permanent based on this, because I think you're absolutely right. People are going to come out of this. They're going to be drained. They're going to be tired. But start to build the foundation so 18 months from now, we have a much better hold, a better foundation for going forward, and not just worrying about the governor and the Secretary of State or the Attorney General, but also the state reps, because we lucked out here a week ago here in Michigan, where they voted only to do it till April 30th. But I got to tell you, if term limits weren't invoked here, there's a gentleman by the name of Tom McMillan. He was a fabulous state representative that was termed out. I would love to see Tom McMillan ripping the hide off these executive orders right now. A friend of mine, former state senator Patrick Colbeck, he's actually a rocket scientist. He's actually built things for the International Space Station. Patrick Colbeck is ripping the hide off of these things right now, but he was termed out. I would love to see more people like Tom McMillan and Patrick Colbeck doing things right now. Unfortunately, they termed out of their offices and everything, but we need more people like them as opposed to some of the people who we have now that are just like, well, leadership told us to do this, so we're just going to go ahead with it. I'm an anarchist at heart, Teri.
I knew it. I knew it. Back to your days worshiping the Sex Pistols.
Never liked them. That's a Schlichter Breitbart thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. No. Never liked.
I did not know that. Well, little known fact is that Johnny Rotten is in some way a cousin of my mom's family, because my mom's maiden name is Leyden, and Johnny Rotten's real last name is Leyden, and there's something there. There's some sort of connection.
Totally sounds Irish.
Leyden?
Yeah.
From
totally
County Mayo. We don't want to get too far into Grandpa Mike's background, because we don't want to go too far into that, because that'll get us in trouble.
Yeah, it's another book. That's what I'm saying.
It is. Well, is there anything else going on in Michigan we need to know about? Obviously, you guys are in lockdown. You cannot sit on new patio furniture or grow a flower or a vegetable until the very soonest May 1st, it sounds like. What else is going on there that we need to know about? Do you need us to send supplies? Is it, what do we need to do for you guys?
Are there airplanes willing to airdrop like the Berlin airdrop of 46? Do we have people who are willing to do that? Because I'm running low on jelly bellies. Yeah.
That is a bit of a conundrum.
Yeah.
And if you were to venture out, I think you would find that most Easter candy is at a significant discount right now.
Yeah, 50% off tomorrow at Meijer, which is one of the local chains here, based out of Grand Rapids. I think they have a significant presence in the Midwest here, but you can't buy seeds or
insane.
Or anything. Yeah,
because it's war, man. We need to grow our victory gardens. That just seems so strange. If I were to mail you some seeds, would that be okay, or would your governor get mad at me?
Should probably confiscate them. Yeah,
confiscate the seeds.
I'm not sure.
It's like a black market for seeds going on.
Could be
at your local gas station where the people are hanging out. Popping their trunks open with their boxes full of seeds.
I think if the gas station is locally owned, they can sell seeds.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, because the caveat is that it's a major corporation, which of course is just absolutely nonsensical. But I mean, look.
Does she not get money from major corporations? Are there no PAC donations from major corporations?
I have no idea.
Of course there are. She's a Democrat.
I have no idea what the rationale is. It would be great if one of the reporters up in Lansing, when she holds these press conferences every couple days, would ask her that. because she would be absolutely befuddled. I can tell you that I have, just reading the body language over the past couple days, she did not expect this type of blowback. And there were rumors that she was going to tighten it down a little bit harder. I would be surprised if she did now, because in fact, I didn't bring this up. There is going to be a rally tomorrow in Lansing, Michigan, which is the state capital, where people are going to be going up there, and they're calling it Operation Gridlock. It's at noon. And what they're doing is, you're not to get out of your car, but you will be having people that will drive around the Capitol in their cars with signs, beeping and yelling and everything.
Really? That's a great idea.
Yes. And according to one report I read today, which I'm not believing yet, but there are going to be anywhere between 12 to 15,000 cars there tomorrow. I think if they get 1,000, it would be a roaring success. A website or a Facebook site that just started last Thursday called Michiganders, which is an idiotic term. A gander is a fowl. It's Michiganian. The governor is wrong when she says Michigander. She should be recalled just on that, but I'll vote her out in 2022 for it. Michiganders Against Excessive Quarantine started on Thursday. They already have 250,000 members.
Holy crap. You guys are sick of this.
Yeah. There are people that are organized that are going to be going up there. I have a person that'll be on the ground, Facebook living it. I'll be sharing that all over the interwebs. And because I'm very proud of the little guy, because he's seen some of the crazy stuff I'd done. And he's like, well, geez, you're old and stupid. If you can do it, why can't I? And I'm like, don't do it. Knock it out.
You're creating the next generation. It's wonderful. It's heartwarming.
I tell you, I love it. When he came over today for some tips and everything, I was like,
Did you distance?
No, hell no. I don't care. I got him in a headlock and I said, you make me proud, you little...
noogie?
Yeah, I did. I mean, he's 30. You know, he can handle it. So he's going to be up there Facebook living it and everything. And I told him, I said...
So where can people do this? This is a great segue into finding out more about you personally and your social media presence so people can follow these things.
Well, I'm going to be writing about this over at Red State. I'll post it on Bourbon on the Rocks on Facebook, and then also FTRradio Live. I'll be sending it out to all of my media contacts, which I imagine you're one of them, to put this out there.
I have literally never gotten an email from you. In knowing you for almost 12 years, I don't think you've ever sent me an email.
I have sent you an email. You have
not sent me an email in 7 years.
In fact, reorganizing my closet the other day, I have the very first Smart Girl Politics tan hat that was sent to me.
Yeah, you won. You won something. I don't know what you won, but I remember you winning it.
I won that in a shirt, which I won it in 2010, and I finally received it in 2013.
It sat by my desk for a while.
Yeah.
It was all nicely packaged, and it just sat there.
Well, I mean, because, postage is expensive. So I was like, oh my gosh, I still have this hat that Teri had for 4 or 5 years, and neither you or Stacy signed it. Little disappointing. So I don't want to hear it griping from you.
Send it to me. I'll sign it, and I'll send it back in the next 3 or 4 years.
Right. See, and you know what? I don't know if I'll be here because after this interview, they may be coming after me.
No. You've got like a solid defense there of smart and sensible people in Michigan that we don't have here in Virginia, so I think you're fine. I mean, if they haven't gotten you yet, Tom, I think you're all right.
We'll find out tomorrow.
We'll find out tomorrow. So what are the other... You are host definitely of Bourbon on the Rocks, which was, fine, whatever. You want to call it that. You do you, bro. You do you. But what are your other... You are a small media conglomerate. What are the other pieces of your media empire?
I just write.
So you're Red State, you have Bourbon on the Rocks,
right.
And other podcasts?
I produce podcasts for some of the biggest names in Hollywood. All right.
Okay, then.
Or as we say, politics for ugly people, Hollywood, right?
Some of them in the Imagine video.
Right.
That was a great idea.
And then And then I do a Facebook Live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over at Bourbon on the Rocks. The
Sometimes
Facebook
you
page.
say bad words on there, though. I'm
I
just
do.
gonna say.
I do. You know what? Because you know what? It's America.
Well,
All right. You think George Washington
your
was
mother's
going?
in the next room, though.
No.
No?
Well, hey, sometimes she is. You're
Okay.
right. But
Sometimes she walks in, right?
she did. She has one time, and we had where she said, "Holy," because she thought she won $2,500 on a scratch-off ticket, and I had to tell her while I was doing it live that no, it wasn't that. But the mom unit has Alzheimer's, and the great thing about when I swear is that in about 5 minutes she forgot. So
there you go. You can get away with everything.
You know what? As long as long, I have found out in doing this now. I've been doing caregiving now going on 6 years. I have found out that as long as they are fed, they have Pepsi, and you put on Murder, She Wrote, the world's a perfect thing.
Sounds pretty great.
Yeah. Because I don't know if you know this. Jessica Fletcher is the greatest mass murderer America has ever known.
I did not know that.
Never caught.
She committed all the murders.
How many people go to Cabot Cove and get killed? Really?
A lot.
You don't think like the FBI should be going, hold on a second. And this broad's at every damn murder scene? Hold up.
Tom, you need to get out more.
That's not happening.
All right. So give me the exact addresses of every place where people can find you.
Bourbon on the Rocks on Facebook, FTRradio on Facebook. You just type in those, Bourbon on the Rocks or Facebook. And Irish Duke 2 on Twitter.
You don't tweet.
Well, I tweet occasionally. I mean, I used to be a big Twitter, but
we all did.
But isn't it really toxic?
It's pretty awful. I'm not going to lie. It's not great.
It's kind of like some of the guys you dated in high school.
Catholic boys aren't great. Catholic boys can be a challenge. Well, anyway, I appreciate you coming on and chatting as one of the original smart guys from Smart Girl Politics. I knew you would know the scoop in Michigan. And Michigan's you guys are making a lot of waves these days. You're in the news a lot. So I needed to get down and dirty and find out what was going on there. I knew you were the man on the ground. So
yeah, we're a cluster here. We are a cluster here, but we hope.
Hey, you're no Virginia.
No. I mean, because we're not in the, the watch. What did I tell Ken Cuccinelli that time? I said, no, you guys are Washington, D.C.
Oh, you.
Yeah.
And I believe he said, oh, we're a stone's throw away. Or I don't know his voice. I don't know if that's his voice, but.
Right. But we may not be Virginia and Washington, D.C., but we're a pretty good cluster right now.
Excellent. So if you continue to be a cluster, we'll have to have you back on and give us the straight poop about that.
Anytime, Miss Teri. It's always an honor.